Yeah, so if it's too good to be true, it may not be true, or it just may not be good. One
For
of
the
the two.
it could be good now, but it might not be good for the long term.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the cost of buying a condo. Right. Good morning, everybody. It is Kenneth Morillo, PA, broker associate with Team Aroa at Compass, Florida, license number BK3373543. Here on the Daily Memo with John.
Good morning, John Sepulveda, NMLS 1309244, coming at you. Another episode of the DM.
Episode 15. We're wrapping up the week. Just so that everybody knows, John will be gone for 2 weeks as of, you leaving April 20th?
April 20th, correct.
All right. All right. And where you're going to be in Colombia, right?
Yes.
In good old paradise.
Medellin.
Yeah.
Going home.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the market and how things are wrapping up for the week before we go into what was supposed to be yesterday's conversation and talking about the condo market here in Florida.
So we have the BLS jobs report due today, and the data. We'll see what happens. If no funky new jobs with some funky seasonal adjustments come up to it, I mean nothing. It doesn't look like it. It would be really hard to pull that off, because in this week with the ADP reports and the job openings reports, all the data is pointing to higher unemployment rate. That's going to come out today. It should be a higher unemployment rate if all the data holds, right? If everything matches the same. Mm-hmm. They adjusted some of the ADP numbers that they've had for the past 4 weeks, and they were all below 200,000, and they adjusted all 4 of them. Now the average has been 240,000. So that number is off, has been off. So they've been basically looking at fake data. You want to call it fake?
Or I wouldn't call it fake, right? Because you said
oh, it's fake, brother. 517,000 jobs in February. That's a fake number. There's no way that number is real. Like, that's a made up number. Is
it fake or misleading?
Well, I mean,
or I guess is that synonymous?
Is somebody ugly or not good looking? I mean, you know what I
mean? Well, everybody's beautiful to somebody.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, but if you think, you know what I mean, like, you know, it's. I mean, that's just how you look at it. But it's definitely. I told you how the 517. It was like they were expecting 2.5 million, and then they somehow adjusted for immigration, and they put 3 million. Oh, great, we got 500,000. That's the number. I mean, it's just insane how they came up with that figure. But now with all the real data is coming in, right? Because they do these reports weekly. I mean, then they adjust it. It always happens. It's not, the adjustment of the data is not new. Mm-hmm. What's at hand. So ADP and BLS have always kind of been to get, like, not together, meaning it's 2 separate reports, two separate methodologies, it's 2 separate things. However, there has been a correlation between both.
Mm-hmm. Some sort of an alignment.
There always is an alignment. They're close together. Except, you know, the February report, ADP was like 195 and BLS was 517. I mean, there was a huge difference in those 2, right? And that's what triggered the market. We've gone over this several times, right? Mm-hmm. So now, today, that data should be corrected. If it all matches, the data lies figures don't lie. So things should line up. The number should be, unemployment rate should go up. It should be higher than expected. And the BLS report should have, their expectation is 200, and I got it written down here before I forget. 240,000 is what the expectation is for this week for jobs.
Yeah.
And that should be lower. That should be lower than if it correlates to ADP and the job openings and the service, what I've been talking about, the service, hospitality service jobs that are kind of peaking,
Mm-hmm.
All that together should equate to a higher unemployment rate reading today, 3.7-ish. And it should lead to not 240,000 jobs. It should be lower than that. It should come under 200,000 if all that math sort of lines up properly.
Yeah.
And if that happens, we should see some relief on the bond market, and we should see rates start come down. Not drastically, not a point. No, but there's a turn. I totally feel like the cart is reaching the top of the roller coaster.
Yeah.
That's where I'm feeling on mortgage rates. I'm feeling it because in February there was still the March and the April reports when the housing jobs came out. So even though that kind of number threw a wrench in the system because rates went up and they were unexpected and it shouldn't have gone up, so we basically lost all these 2 months, like that chart that I show you, how we just got back to that level.
Yeah.
So I mean but we were not in February. We were not in the clear yet. The data wasn't there yet to show, to be that we're at the crest, at the peak of the roller coaster. You know what I mean? In February,
it wasn't reflecting that.
Correct, and it should have been like if that 517,000 job number, just the rates would not have jumped up as much, but they would not have gone down either because there's not enough data to push them on the downside.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's the data, like it's starting to come together. Right now, this data report, this so far Wednesday, this week it's starting to come together. So the BLS kind of cooperates, right, and it gives the numbers that the other entities are providing. So if that aligns, I think that data's pointing to that should get us and then start, because the next report, the May 10th report, then the data's really there. So
which is only a month away, by the way.
Exactly. Well, that's, yeah, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying, like, now that's why I feel like we're at the crest. Like it's starting, we're made it to the top of the roller coaster and we're going to start on the way down. So we should start seeing some positive numbers. We should start seeing rates kind of go on the down. And then as this month progresses, the May report comes up, there should be some action. We should start seeing some movement in the market. We should start seeing people getting back into the market.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we're going to see is, unfortunately, property values are you're going to see some of these multiple offer and overbidding, and you're going to see some of that stuff in the spring. It's going to, it's not going to be a spring market like it always has been because the inventory is way down.
Mm-hmm.
But with the little inventory that's left, all the people that are on the sidelines waiting to get in, waiting for the rates to go, as soon as these things go in, the people that are waiting are going to jump in again.
Yeah.
So the ones that missed the boat a month, 3 weeks ago, I think the train is leaving the station.
Yeah. I'll never forget. I listed this one home, and I want to say this was years ago. This was in 2017, before I even knew what a multiple offer situation was. I'll never forget. This lady came into this listing that I had, and she was like, "Are there any offers?" It's like, I couldn't believe. I just need to know if there's any offers because I'm tired of looking for a house.
That's too funny.
So it's like every spring, it's just no matter what here in Florida, it does call for multiple offer situations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
People do get frustrated and tired of. Sometimes people put in a full asking offer, even on a home that's been on the market for a while, just because they're tired of looking at homes and going through, like they're just exhausted. I call it buyer's fatigue.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's when you've seen so many homes that you can't even remember what the first
one you're saying, right? Now that's not going to happen this spring because there's not going to be that many homes to see.
Mm-hmm,
but there's going to be a lot, it's going to be a lot more buyers to show.
Yeah.
Not the same numbers and the same craziness that was when the rates were, 3%, but there's people on the sideline. There's people that are waiting that, at 7% they couldn't qualify, but at 5% they will.
Yeah. And those are the people that are kicking themselves because
they didn't buy.
They didn't buy when it was at 2%. So
They were waiting for the market to drop.
Yep. So
now they still are.
as if it was gonna hit zero.
Yeah, and now no, they were waiting for the property values to drop because they're too high.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now they're, unfortunately, that's I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that's human nature, and that's what's going to happen. But so hopefully that is the conversation, and hopefully starting next week, we start having a conversation about how the trend is down on the rates and kind of that's happening. So hopefully that's what I feel that's where we're kind of going. I can the data's there again. Liars figures don't lie, but
yeah. All right, so let's get a little bit into the Florida condo market.
let's do it up.
Let's discuss condos. I mean, right now ironically this topic came up, and I'm actually dealing with condos right now with representing a buyer and representing a seller. So I'm seeing the good and the bad on each. So I mean, essentially, I guess the biggest event that is having a huge impact on the Florida condo market that has happened recently was when that building collapsed in Miami. So that was I guess that was considered a high-rise condo building, right?
I do not know if it was what I honestly do not. I didn't since I don't know the area, I'm not there. I'm not sure what it actually was. If it was an actual condo, like what was it? I have no idea.
It was a condo building.
Okay.
But that when we get into the cons of condo ownership, we're gonna go into that a little bit further. But condos are a great thing. I think they definitely help with people getting into a starter situation, right? But then you also have the high-end luxury developments that are going up too. And the branded buildings are becoming well, I guess they've definitely been a thing, but I see, especially with the Compass development department, I've seen a lot of cool projects going up as far as the high rise concerned. Here in Orlando, we have condos that appear to be townhomes, and then we also have condos that appear, like garden style apartment buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty cool what's happening. In the condo market, you definitely see a lot of high demand for it. You see a lot of multiple offer situations, but then in some cases, you see some investors redo condos, and they don't do the greatest job. They sometimes go cheap, but sometimes they're impressive, So let's just go over a few of the pros of condo ownership. And then we can discuss like the financing of it once we get to the cost. We're gonna go over some pros and cons.
All right.
So what do you think is a few of the pros of condo ownership?
Well, I think that the accessibility, as you say, especially of the entry level, right? I'm not gonna do, and I honestly do not have too much knowledge on the high end luxury end.
Yeah.
I've never financed one, never been proud. I mean, I don't have, that's just not the market I've kind of been in. So I don't have any really much knowledge on it.
Mm-hmm.
The entry level, you're 100% right. I mean, it's just a more affordable option for people starting out, right? So it's just a way in, stop paying rent, buy your own place. The only issue that I really see with condos, which we'll talk about the cons, but again, this goes into
we're in pros right now, John.
Yeah, no, I mean, the financing part is the only kind of, and the whole general aspect. To be honest with you, I mean, I think condos it's a great option. Again, speaking of not the high end luxury, but the entry level, it's a really, really good option for people. I mean, it's just provides people an affordable option.
Yeah, it's way more affordable than single family homes.
100%, and I guess
in most cases,
maybe it's not a con in the financing. I would say maybe it's just I wish it was different if it was a little easier, because the warrantable and non-warrantable thing is where it becomes an issue. And it becomes an issue, and that's why I'm kind of talking about it here. I mean, the pro is the entry and east to get in because it's a
Mhm.
lower price point. But at the same time, because of that, those ones tend to go the non-warrantable way because there's too many
Yeah.
investors and too many renters and not enough owner occupieds. So that forces people with a higher down payment. So it takes the affordability away because they need a larger down payment if it's not.
Yeah, if you're required to do the 20%.
Right. So that's but 100%. I think the one of the most important pros is the affordability or the ease for the startup buyer. It's definitely there.
And then there's the location. Mini condos are usually located in urban areas, right? So your walking score tends to be a little bit higher.
Yep.
Right? You get access to the local restaurants, shops, and especially if you're in a downtown area, right?
Absolutely.
So you got access to the nightlife. Another great thing about condos is that they're low maintenance, right?
Mhm.
The main thing you don't have to worry about is maintaining a lawn, right? And typically anything on the exterior, right? The exterior walls
It's covered.
or the
Or
roof,
or the roof, which is also an important thing is the roof.
exactly. So yeah, you are paying an HOA to have those things covered, but at least those big ticket items are not coming out of pocket when they're due.
Yep.
So another thing is the access to amenities. So you got, let's say, a gym.
Pool, gym.
Your gym membership is included.
Yeah.
You have access to a swimming pool that you don't have to maintain personally, right? There might be a basketball court, tennis court, what else? A park for the kids.
Dog park.
There could be a volleyball court, so many things in
Yeah,
in a
sports and
community.
leisure, and there's a lot of stuff, and all right there where you're not leaving where your place of residence, and you have everything there.
Mm-hmm. Another thing is security, right? When it's in a gated community, or the buildings that you cannot access unless you have a key fob to,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
That's cool. And then again, the investment potential, right? When it comes to this being a startup situation, a condo is key, a key pivotal position to be in as far as owning a condo, because then you can just move up into a single family home or to your next situation. And then you technically have an apartment right there where rents are in high demand, right?
Yep.
So the greatest investment potential that I see, the market that's really hot right now, is the midterm rental market, which is great for traveling nurses. Being that condos typically tend to be located close, in the urban area.
In the urban
There's
area.
typically a hospital nearby.
Yeah.
There's typically everything that anybody needs who is not a local, who hasn't been in the area for a long time. It makes it easy for them to find everything that they need, and it makes them feel comfortable. It makes them feel secure, They're
Yeah.
coming into a situation, just living there for anywhere from 2 to 6 months, let's just say. They have this condo that has all the amenities and everything that they would want for being away from home while feeling like
working,
they're at home,
but they're home without the maintenance and without the hassles that come with being at home.
Yeah. All right, so let's go over some of the cons now, which includes, right, the biggest thing, the financing difficulties. Right.
I think, or if you get into a non-warrantable situation, if you get a high concentration of investors, that's a problem. When
What else would make it non-warrantable?
High concentration of investors is really one of the main things. Or if they do short-term rentals, if it's managed, if the HOA
Is the on-site manager.
Is the on-site manager, and they rent out the condos, that could make it warrantable. If there's any ongoing pending litigation, that'll make it non-warrantable. You know, so
Mhm.
there's a couple of different factors, but the investment concentration is usually the kind of
The main
the
contributing
main,
factor.
yeah, the main obstacle. So, and then it's, I mean, you just said like somebody buys a house, then moves up, rents it, leaves, and moves up to a single family, and they leave and rent it. But you know, that just one less homeowner and just one more rental. So
Yep.
that's the balance that's always kind of, you know, that's an issue is warrantable because of the down payment. Of the buyer has 20%, it doesn't matter. You know,
Mhm.
it really doesn't matter. But and it doesn't matter in the sense that even the rates are not higher. I was doing one of my buyers put an offer in last week on a non-warrantable condo, second home.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you know, score above 760. So
Mhm.
score is fine. 20% down. So no issue of
Mhm.
the but it's non-warrantable. So I started pricing Fannie and Freddie, and then I had to switch to non-warrantable. And I did a non-QM product, and those was the rate. Those were the rates last week, right? So yeah, kind of compounded. I'm not sure what they are today, but last week they were a week ago.
Mhm.
Uh, it was 7.5 on the non-warrantable product, the non-QM. It was 7.5 with 2 points,
Mhm.
and Fannie was 7.625 with 2.5 points on the same day.
Mm.
So rate wise, at least in our current rate environment, the non-warrantable was the payment was lower than when Fannie.
Wow.
So I mean, you
So it
see,
wound up working for them.
they didn't accept the offer, but
Oh, okay,
they
okay,
could,
gotcha,
but
gotcha.
they put the offer in, but that was the situation, and that caught me by surprise. I'm not gonna lie, I was like,
That was
wow.
a shocker.
And I went back and double checked double checked everything, make sure I wasn't missing anything. And no, that was it was half a point less. I mean,
Mm.
it was because at second homes now with the adjustment that they made, um, before that was not the case, right? Before Fannie and Freddie were pretty much treated as a single family, like as owner occupied. So
Yeah.
pretty much the rate was the only difference between an owner occupied and a second home was the down payment. That you could do 3 or 5 on a owner occupied, and you have to do at least 10 on a second home. That was really the only difference prior to last year. But then last year they adjusted, they changed, and they added loan level price adjustments for second homes, and because people were buying second homes with 10% down, but they were actually really renting them and being investment properties.
Yeah.
So they adjusted that, and they kept the 10%, but basically the pricing it's the same pricing, right? It's pretty much the same pricing as an investment property.
Mhm.
It really is really close to pricing it, and that is in points is basically what it means is you're just the cost, the loan level price adjustment is so high that you really can't buy a second home without paying points. There's really not, there's no such
It's
a
really
thing.
challenging.
I mean, it is what it is. It's just the cost. Owner occupied, no points. You can have par rate, like you can have a rate with no points, but on a second home or investment, it's just not there. The pricing doesn't go there, or it'd be too high if we're going to do 2 points and no points.
Yeah.
If the buyer is trying to do a par rate, the rate would be too high, and it's not even in the rate sheet. So that's why it had like points is second home come with points.
So at one point, FHA wasn't even a thing for condos, right? It was just a couple of years ago that FHA that condos were able to qualify for FHA loans, right? And even now, there's some condos that
There's
still.
something on. I mean, FHA does allow, like, you can do spot approvals, but it's the FHA is even more, because the premise of FHA is kind of protecting the home buyer and setting up
Mhm.
these things to protect the home buyer. So because anything, if the place is, there's some litigation coming. I mean, the HOA it's fragile, and if they don't have the things to pay the taxes and maintenance, I mean, the thing goes up. That's the issue. Somebody could get in a situation where it's complicated. So I mean, it's all really about the protection of the homeowner. It's really what it is, because if they get into
Absolutely.
one of these, as you said, like you get an investor and they don't do such a good job at keeping things, and they're organized, and the place falling apart, and people don't pay the condo fees or the HOA, and they don't pay for and it starts falling behind, it's a problem. Well, they got a whole bunch of investors and they can't afford, times are tough. I mean, when
Yeah,
in
no,
this market,
absolutely.
it's when things like that happen, right? Because then people start not, they lose the job, right? It's an investment. Okay, do I buy food or do I pay for the investment property? No, I'll buy food. The investment property, I don't make the payment, and that's what happens.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely.
Or they pay,
The financial health of the condo
It's
as a
complicated.
whole, it matters.
That's or people pay the mortgage, they don't pay the HOA.
Which that's another thing, right? So that's another con is the limited control, right? So there's rules and regulations that are set by the HOA, and I mean the association fees can be high. You're paying sometimes you're paying a high monthly HOA and an annual fee on top in some cases.
Yeah.
The
more toys, the more toys the condo has, the more the higher it's going to be, of course.
So and the fees over time, 9 times out of 10 they increase. Very rarely do you have HOA fees go down. And then in a case where you have like a special assessment that everybody has to contribute to something that's going on, like there was one unit I called on yesterday, had 2 special assessments. One the seller was willing to cover, and the other was going to be like an additional on top of the HOA fee, an additional $189 per month for the period of 10 years. Yeah. So it was like that has to be included in the debt to income ratio calculation because it's a monthly required expense.
And it's gonna last for 10 years. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that can be a burden.
And the problem is it's like everything, right? I mean, when if you put yourself in a situation and you financially, right? And that's part of my whole kind of process, right? And how my approach is it's a different approach, because if you get into a situation where you're barely making it and you're just buying the house because you're buying the house and you haven't thought it out and you don't have a plan and okay, this is affordable and I can get in here. I mean, yes, that's wonderful, but the more in this market, right? The old saying, if it's too good to be true, it usually is, So in this environment,
it's usually not true. If it's too good to be true, it's usually not true.
Because in this environment we're in, right? Everything's expensive, things are expensive. So if you suddenly find a place that's super, super affordable, different to everybody else, there's something else, like there's got to be something there that's causing that to be so much affordable than all the other properties, right? So you can jump on something like that, but if there's some issues, if there's some, something happens and they give you an assessment, and if it's $199 a month for 10 years, right? So think about the current homeowner, somebody who's already in there, who's already maxed out on their budget, like they're already living paycheck to paycheck. Something happens on the building, and here's an assessment, $190 a month. If you can't afford $190 a month, right? Then there's some people that literally can't, right? Because there's people actually that spend more than what they make.
Yeah,
they make $2,000 a month and they spend $2,500. I mean, and they live on credit cards. That's just how it is. So
that's their cycle. Yep.
That is that could be an assessment like that. I mean, look, it's a real situation. You didn't, we're not hypothetically speaking. You saw that situation yesterday
firsthand.
So they somebody gets, oh, hey, by the way, here's $190 more a month. I mean, that could knock somebody off. I mean, it's just, it could, you know what I mean? It's just not, some people are so fragile and so vulnerable to the market and with the financing or finances that something like that could affect them. So you have to be prepared and you have to be ready that either do your research, do the due diligence on the project. And if there's already issues, walk away. I mean, if you don't see it's there, walk away. Just get the information.
Yeah. So if it's too good to be true, it may not be true, or it just may not be good.
It could be good now, but it might not be good for the long term.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the cost of buying a condo, right? Some upfront costs, and then again, I mean, back to that point, the hidden cost or surprise cost, right?
Yeah.
So the upfront costs, we already know, down payments could range anywhere between 3 to 20%, right?
Depending if
Closing
it's
costs,
warrantable or not. If it's warrantable, 3.5, 5, typical first-time home buyer type of situation, no change at all, just because it's a condo, if it's warrantable.
mm-hmm,
It's when non isn't, bumps you up to the 20%.
yeah. Then your closing costs can range anywhere between 2 to 5%. They tend to be higher on the newer developments because the builders are putting off more closing costs to the buyers.
And the initiation
Retail-
fees, if any, also depends on, for the HOA, if they have any, like any startup fees or any fees
Exactly.
those could be expensive as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The HOA fees, they definitely include that definitely have an application fee to go along with it. For condos, they tend to be required. The HOA approval tends to be required because they do run the background checks and all that.
Yep.
Then of course you have your inspection costs, which you should do
Do it anyway in every property.
purchase,
Yeah.
condo or not. Appraisal fees if you're financing, then your mortgage fees, title insurance and transfer taxes, that's always included in every closing, right?
One thing that's usually cheaper on insurance is the homeowner's insurance.
Mm-hmm.
That's one place where usually people can, if you compare a condo to a townhouse to a single family, you'll see some difference in the homeowner's insurance because you only need walls and coverage. So that
within, it's kind of like having renter's insurance, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more than content. So renters is just pretty much content, and this is a little bit different,
because it includes the things in the walls.
Walls in, right, but more than content.
Yeah.
Renters
So,
really...
what about when the HOA or if the condo doesn't have insurance? Is that a factor?
What do you mean if it doesn't have insurance?
Let's say they don't have.
It's not included insurance. You have to buy. Then you got to. There's some that does not include, and you have to have your regular homeowner's insurance. I mean, on a condo like garden style, you wouldn't have that, right?
Yeah,
it's all attached together. Yeah, I mean, there's an insurance that's because you wouldn't be able to just
insure the whole building. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the most part, it's just walls in coverage, and then so that's one place where payment could be lower on the insurance side.
So that's definitely a plus.
Absolutely, and property taxes also tend to be lower on a condo than on a single family. So that also helps.
And then utilities definitely are much lower than your typical.
You're talking about a smaller place, not. I mean, the utilities are not lower because they pay a lower rate for condos.
Well, let's just say a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo. I think there would be significantly lower utility costs than a single family home. Right? Because isn't the water shared? You do have your own water heater, but isn't the water shared more or less?
Well, if it's included in I don't know. I mean, if it's included in I don't think the water is included in the condo fee in the HOA. I doubt it. Everybody has a water meter, so I think you get your own meter. I don't know. I've never lived in a condo. I don't know that I haven't gone to that granular detail. I don't know, but I would assume. I don't think the water's included. I mean, that would be.
Yeah.
That's just insane because it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't make sense that the owners would pay for the water.
So I guess it's got to be. It's going to depend on the usage.
Correct, and the size, right? So so single family home, right? 3-bedroom, 2-bath. You're looking at 1,400 square feet.
Yeah, more or less.
Right?
A lot less.
Yeah, I mean, in a condo, you can have a different, smaller layout. You still have 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but it'll be
less than 1,200 square feet.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe for that, I don't know. I mean, I don't. That's not my. That's not my, yeah. I don't know enough to the breakdown to be able to. But I mean, it makes sense. Smaller place, smaller. It makes sense.
Smaller bills.
Yeah. but the actual the cost, like, electricity, kilowatt, it's not going to be cheaper on a condo than on a single family.
No, it's going to be
Per-
based on your usage.
On the usage, exactly.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I mean, the cost of maintaining a condo is significantly less than a single family home for sure. When with those
Well,
things that you mentioned, with the insurance, the property taxes, the fact that you don't have to maintain a lawn yourself, right? The only thing that's costlier, that's way costlier, is the HOA fees.
correct, and the
Because
HOA, but
even within a community, right? I was working with a buyer a couple weeks ago where within the same community,
they have
there
different.
was, yeah, and the HOA fees for the condos and townhomes were significantly higher
Yep.
than the HOA fees for the single family
Single
home.
family. Yeah.
This was all mixed,
Oh yeah,
mixed community.
yeah. And here in Avalon, I mean, there's townhouses, there's condos, and single families where I live, and
Mhm.
they have different villages. They're called villages, and there's the HOAs in some villages is higher than in others, and they have
Yeah.
different things. The HOAs have different there's one village that has their own gym, and the HOAs is higher, but their gym is really cool. I've never been there, but I guess it's really cool, and they have a
Yeah.
pool.
You've heard about it. You've heard about it.
My wife's been there.
Yeah.
We have a friend that lives there, and she's been there, and I mean, I guess it's really well kept and really, really nice. But the HOA fees there are higher.
Yeah.
My HOA fees for mine have internet and cable included, Comcast,
In your home.
and the HOA fee.
But that's what I'm saying. So it's in the HOA fee, so you get internet and TV.
Cable. Yeah.
What amenities do you have access to?
Pools, dog park pools, like each village, like several, like I don't have keys for like every single pool in the complex. I have the keys to the one that's near my house. It's like, I don't know, there's 6-7 pools here.
Oh, okay.
So they have the pool, they have this field, soccer and basketball and racquetball and the dog park. I mean, decent amenities.
Decent.
Yeah.
I wonder, in my neighborhood there's a voluntary HOA. And not voluntary, optional HOA. And everybody's opted out. So what?
Yeah, that's what
I don't get it. I don't get the optional, or I don't understand. I still don't understand it. And I've been living there for about 1.5 years now.
They have a picnic every year on the 4th of July, and if people pay for it, there'll be a picnic. There'll be burgers with the buns. If not, you don't get any. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what an optional HOA would do. It's probably for like.
It's weird.
It's got to be for like social stuff, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can't be for maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It can't be for maintenance. It's got to be for like stuff that's,
It's weird. I still have
really
to
weird.
get it out. But so essentially, when it comes to condo ownership, right? The best part is going to be building good relationships with the HOA, right? Being an active participant in the community and being well prepared. I say you probably shouldn't buy a condo if you don't have a reserve for surprise expenses.
Correct. And the information.
And
it's like everything. It's anything. It's just not just a condo. It's a single family. It's whatever you're doing. You just make sure.
Yeah, that does apply, but even more so for a condo.
Even more for a condo. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd hate to be living there for 3 years and then all of a sudden a special assessment comes up that throws my monthly budget off.
No, I have friends. I honestly don't remember the story. I have friends from Massachusetts who actually owned a condo here in Fort Lauderdale. And so it's back, but they got hit with a special assessment. And it was like $300. Like, it was a major, like, It was a major, and it hurt them financially, and they didn't want to lose the condo, and they had a lot of money in, and that's when the market was kind of tight, and they, they struggled through it, and they kept it, and they didn't lose it.
Mhm.
But I don't remember the details, and it was, and
You
again,
just remember the impact that it had.
correct, because it was back in Boston, so I wasn't, I mean, it was just, it impacted them, and it was like, what do you mean? Like, it's, I don't know, I don't know if it was the roof, I don't know, it was a major thing though, and it was a
Mhm.
fairly large complex, and it was like $300 a month. I mean, it was, so then their beef was because there's a whole bunch of people that were not paying for it, and
Mhm.
then they were
They,
paying
they
for
opted
it,
out.
yeah, but then somehow, because the other people were not, there was too many people because the market was tight. They did something else, like another, and it went up. They had to pay more. Again, I don't remember all the details of. I just remember the impact of them. Of like, I was like, ooh, that's it. That's scary because if you don't have the money, and if you're, and they didn't do any research. They had no idea. They just, I mean, they were in Massachusetts, so they're like became investors, and they bought an investment property, and in Florida, like everybody does,
Mhm.
and they didn't do the proper research, and they didn't, they cost them money. So
Yeah.
it's definitely do the research and be prepared. And if you do the research, you're going to know that you're going to be prepared, and you're going to have some reserves and just an emergency fund just in case something pops up. And at the end of the day, I mean, I would say if it's too good to be true, I mean, just be careful. I mean, it's just not. It's do the diligence, and if you don't get a good feeling, walk away. I mean, don't
It's
get
either not
emotional.
good or not true.
Yeah, well, and don't get emotional. I mean, you can't invest with emotion, because
Yeah.
emotion is it doesn't it's a blind spot that you have. So just if you don't feel it, walk away. I mean, don't get caught up into, oh my God, it's so cheap, and I'm going to be a million, it's going to grow in value, and I'm going to make money. Man, walk away if it's not there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things to be mindful of when you're buying a condo, because essentially it's like an apartment building, except you're just buying one unit, and then
Correct.
everything else on outside of that unit is shared.
Correct. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, essentially that's pretty much it in regards to condos. Um, I've sold condos with financing, so I know that it can be done. I know that it was slightly different, not as easy as a single family home sale or a townhome sale, but yeah, pretty
Yeah, I
much.
mean, it's from the financing aspect of it. Honestly, what sets the tone for the transaction
Mhm.
is the HOA.
Absolutely.
If you
First
have a
and
good
foremost.
HOA that has all the paperwork, and has all, the condo questionnaire and all the stuff that needs to be completed, and they do it in a timely manner, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
The truth is, at least what has been my experience doing loans for people buying condos,
Mhm.
has been the opposite. It's always it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
It's always an issue. They're not organized. They don't get back to you. They don't return your calls.
Their
Bag
accounting is
them.
not in order.
It's the accountants. It's the stuff is messy, and so
Well,
that's been
and that
that's been my
again, that comes with dealing with the lower end.
correct.
The condos that are, they've been around for years, but they haven't been well maintained or whatever.
Correct.
The newer higher end deals, I mean, you're getting a brand new, you're getting class A,
Well, and then that's the difference. But we started the kind of conversation on the affordable, right? Like the one is
Yeah.
an entry and it's really good. So that's what you're dealing with. I mean, you're dealing with that, and that's a messy part. And that's what that slows down the process, because if you can't do anything, you cannot, without the condo questionnaire, you can't do anything. Doesn't matter. You can have a 900 credit score. It doesn't exist, right? But I'm saying you can have perfect credit score. You can anything you want, and if you got to get financing, you need to fill that condo questionnaire. The condo association doesn't return your calls, or doesn't fill it out properly. Like they'll fill it out, and they'll be missing stuff. So you got to go back, and it's just that could take a long period of time, and that's a messy process. But on the higher end stuff, on the better, then you're dealing with better management companies, and it's more organized, and it's electronic, and it's just much easier process flow.
Especially when it's brand new.
Yeah, well, everything new is better.
I don't know. That's not always true.
Touche.
It's
Depends
not
on
always
what.
true.
Yeah, touche.
So, alrighty. Any final thoughts before we let him go?
Oh man, hang tight.
Happy Friday.
We should get happy Friday. We should get some decent news. Like I really do feel that we should be start making our initial descent. As the pilot speaker,
On the way down.
yeah, we should be after today at 8:30. I'm going to finish up here and go down and start paying attention to seeing the news. But we should start our initial descent, and hopefully
right.
we level off into some decent, rates by the end of this year. We need it.
All right. So Monday will officially be April 10th, and it will be a month countdown to May 10th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Absolutely. We start the countdown and we'll see what
we'll
I mean, and
starting
the
countdown.
timing, I didn't even thought about that. The timing is really, like today, like you see, I mean, I had not thought about that. Like, Monday is the 10th, and so it's like I said, I feel like it's there, like the data is just pointed there. So with all the terrible rates and all the market and the craziness, it's kind of is good. Now we gotta wait and hopefully, knock on wood, nothing, no other bank collapse or another, crazy number out of left field comes out or something, So hopefully, if things maintain, that should be the discussion we have going forward.
Amen. All righty then. So we'll the 30-day count starts on Monday.
We should do a little count. We should do a little count.
We're going to do a countdown. We're doing a countdown.
We should.
And then what you call it? You're leaving April 20th. You're gonna be gone for 2 weeks, right?
Almost 2 weeks. I'm back May 2nd.
Okay, so just in time for us to have that week.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll play by ear. I mean, I'm going to be on vacation, but we'll play by ear. And as if we, if something happens, depending on how the market is, so I'm going to still keeping an eye on that. I'm not going to, so we'll be talking, and if we'll plan it more. But if something is there, we'll we'll record it. We'll take the time and do, we'll figure it out and we'll do it.
All righty.
I will step away from the leisure activities, and we'll come and we'll do the chat.
South American paradise of Medellin.
We'll do an update. We'll do we'll do like a sort of an update of. I won't be able to sit through the whole thing probably, but we'll do like an update or something if there's something worthy of, So we'll keep an eye on it.
Alrighty, sounds good. All right, Robert Morillo with Team Aroa at Compass, Florida. License number BK3373543. Wrapping up the daily memo with John Sepulveda.
John Sepulveda, NMLS 1309244. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Easter.
Week 3 is a wrap. Happy Easter, everybody. Have a good one.